Okay, so I have the dolly cam going again. By the way, this is the Ghost Ship terrestrial sensing device. I've just been doing some gallery footage using it. Might do a time lapse in a second or so. And I'm just trying to remember because I've been doing these videos most of the week and I can't remember what I've covered talking about the Ghost Ship project. I think I've said that the wooden panels here are what could be considered the vision of ethnography through AI in 2045. So I really try to constrain the prompts and not overly engineer the prompts because I said I want to see what AI understands in terms of its knowledge base, whether it's from my prompting it before or if it's from its knowledge base that it's accumulated over time. So as you look at all these panels, they are the AI reflection of what it thinks ethnography will be in 2045. Some of them are, it ranges from sensible to things like virtual, augmented reality uses, participatory, non-human species, which is of course a big thing right now and presumably in the era of the Anthropocene will be even a bigger deal later. But then some of it, if you look at it, includes things like giant rodents and extrasensory methods. Almost sounds like that film, The Man Who Talked with Goats, I think is the name of it. Just trying to watch my camera. This camera is a little hard to constrain, but it seems to be working, and maybe as it moves it'll just get a new viewpoint. This will be more on an angle of the project, so I won't worry about it too much. Yeah, so if we come around the back then, you can see more of the panels, and people have asked me how did I create these. The panels were created, originally this was going to be a book, the Ethnography 2045 book that was going to live next to the Ghost Captain's journal. It was my wife, poet Krista Lucas, who said actually, well, this is not going to work. People aren't going to be able to, handle sort of moving a book back and forth. So instead, I decided to go with these panels. And the panels are created using, these are AI images, either inkjet printed or laser printed. And I think I prefer the inkjet because it looks more washed out when you do the process. The process involves using what's called Liquitex. And if you want to try this, you can also do it using Mod Podge will work as well. But Liquitex is a little higher quality, a little more expensive. Comes in a bottle, it's not too fumey, and you'll want to print your image out and then do it in reverse because the text is going to flip. Because what you're actually doing is you're applying Liquitex to your paper with the image face down. So that's why you have to reverse any text or any image that you care about the orientation of. And then you let it dry for about 24 hours. And then after that point, it's kind of laborious, but you're gonna take a sponge or a wet sponge or a wet, white cloth. One of those cleaning cloths works great, sort of the shop towel, and then you just scrape it off. And it takes really a long time. There's multiple iterations of it. I'll probably show some video here just on top of this of what that process looks like. But as you're scraping it off, you get kind of the white off there. I've noticed if you do a laser print, you get a lot of white paper that still appears kind of like a film that's very opaque. If you do a inkjet, you're gonna get a pinkish kind of hue to that. So you just keep scraping until you get enough of the image off, but it's almost a process where you let it dry, come back and do some more, etc. So it really does take a little bit of time. So again, that is the process. We lost our Ghost Captain extra sensory terrestrial flag. I don't know if the Ghost Captain will be upset if we don't leave that on, but sorry, Ghost Captain. We'll put it back on. How's that? Okay. Now it looks very legit and official. By the way, we're running the Soma anti-radio today as well. I'm just trying to pick up some of the electromagnetic stuff. Feel free to come on in and take a look. Yeah. No bother. I'm just doing a voiceover, so you're all good. It'll make it look more real. And I think I may have described what is on the table before. Again, we've got the Fluxus game here that allows you to choose either leak, truth, fiction, or haunting, which were chosen by AI. And then you'll pick up one of these cards and do what it says. So this one says, write a disclaimer for your most sincere paragraph. What would that be? So Anyway, you take one of those and you can choose to do what you want with it or not. We have the ghost ship here with the mast of writing culture. Rest in peace, my late advisor, Stephen A. Tyler. He is heavily in this project. In fact, right across there, you see the original outline of Steve's. We lost our ghost sensing device topper, so we're going to take that off. But that is the original Santa Fe seminar outline that George Marcus actually recovered very recently going through his papers. So that's kind of a cool little thing that is part of this project. And certainly Steve, with his work on the middle voice, continues to inspire me all these years later. Again, I think I described this as the analog ghost ship captain's journal as told to the investigators through AI haunting. And this was the original like analog collage that kind of really started off this project. And so that's kind of the key, if you will, device of this. And then you have a series of 3 folders, newspaper clippings, the patents, and then these immersive space images, which is kind of the Experimental World's Handbook part of this. Again, we kind of talked a little bit about the crumpled paper and Lacan's little A that sneaks around here. By the way, last night, if you guys are keeping track out there, I believe we had our 4th damaged little A. And as Craig said, this is a really good damage because it snapped in half. So presumably someone stepped on it. Our beer can has still survived all this time, our epoxy beer can and Bud Light, or cigarette rather. And again, we have all our reflections here of various disgruntled figures, including me and George, all AI generated. My favorite bumper sticker, they're all gone. This is the last remaining one. I attended AAA and all I got was a reminder that method is a leak. Again, totally AI generated phrase that over time, AI insisted to me was my phrase that I had actually dreamed up. And it's certainly not, but we'll go with AI's interpretation, I guess. So again, originally these were going to be like the crumpled papers that people were going to interact with, but I kind of just decided later that it would be better that people could actually read them here. It would be a little more sensible in that sense. The other thing on the table is you get all the mini accoutrements, including the pocket scion, which is running off of that plant. And I just realized it's not plugged in. So let's go ahead and plug this in because we're not getting any sound. And it's been running without sound. But the pocket scion is really cool because it translates the energy from this plant into musical data. It's quantized. So one of the debates I think that happens among the musical community is when you do any kind of work like that, you're always quantizing to a human, meaningful, sort of 12-tone tempered scale or something like that. It's not doing a microtonal thing, so it raises a bit of a debate when you do this kind of work, if that itself maybe should be adjusted for a different scale. You probably could do microtonal stuff if you wanted to, but we're not saying that plants, of course, create music that is 12-tone and Western bass. So, in addition, though, on the table, you see the speakers that kind of give us the audio from the pocket scion. This is the visitor's journal, which has some cool comments. Not a lot. Last night, by the way, someone wrote in here the kanji for method is a leak. So that's pretty hip. I love that. The fact that someone came up with the kanji for method is a leak. In addition, the table has these markers that just allow people to understand what they can do with the table, because I think one of the challenges with this project is understanding what the hell do you do here? Do you just look at it? Do you take it in? And I would say all of the above is true, but also I think you can pragmatically see this stuff and then be able to work with it a little bit. So that was kind of the instructions. In addition, of course, we have the original quote. This is sort of the bookend with Mick's quote about the ghost ship, and then the last bookend is there. George Marcus saw the ghost ship emerge and the ship drifted away. So I really see those unintentionally as the 2 bookends of the whole project. This is the bot printout that has really the instructions and explaining everything about what this project is intending to do. You can see here. This is the ancillary area where I just put some extra stuff, and then also the postcards have been kind of a hit. People have really loved those postcards, and I'm glad because I don't want to take them home. Hidden speakers, a little reference to the theme park. This one has waves. The other hidden speaker has some of my just electronic booklet-esque stuff, which is just down here, and that's my storage area. We've got candles here. I'll show you the gift shop in just a second. It's starting to bow in a little bit here. We're losing out a little bit. I mean, not really. This is just static here that's going. The static is just kind of a representation that doesn't come out so clearly here. We also have a sound controlled cloud, so it will pick up sound, and just kind of a cool little feature I added to the end of this. This frame, by the way, is just something I use in my redacted performance setups. It's for a giant screen for projection. It was very easy to transport. I mean, it wasn't very easy, but I ended up transporting this, and then that became kind of the focus of the 2049 project. And I drilled a hole in the middle of the pipe because just the weight was kind of becoming an issue. Let's ever so slightly adjust our camera. I mean, I think this tripod's okay. We're gonna see. The proof will be in the stabilization, not in the pudding, but hopefully it's gonna be okay. You know, so far it looks decent. This looked decently smooth, but we'll see later. You know, all the piratey stuff, a lot of this I sourced just on Amazon, the fake moss. These were Temu, and I ended up using putty to hold some of this down just so it wouldn't move so much. So that's held down with putty. And then this moss, I think it looks pretty cool. We have the mini writing cultures, which is one of my favorites. I just made these by hand. They're kind of a pain. And then Method is a Leak, messages in a bottle, also on there. Again, the table's really kind of the focus of this whole project, and the other stuff kind of surrounds it. And then I decided to start using the area under the table. That's an epoxy skull that's being illuminated by a light. And yes, we have Lacan and the Petit A. And then we have many people. I made that out of epoxy. And I just have a skull mold that I also replicated with ceramic. And those kind of look like Damien Hirst style. Of course, not up $100,000 a piece or however much his crystal skulls were. They were super expensive. So yeah, and then I had this, I wasn't really using this light string, so I thought I'll bring it in and just have it going as almost like water. It's kind of the water representation here, I guess you could say. And over the course of this week, for every day, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then today's Saturday, I've had a different welcome message for visitors. And so each day I've just changed that and then had the remaining ones here. Again, this is the pathway of Lacanian desire. You got your little A's here. And, you know, my obsession with Lacan goes back to my days at Rice and reading Zizek for the first time, like I said earlier in another video. He wasn't big then. And then eventually writing a song as a DJ Redacted, the smallest of A's, and performing that. So there's at least two references here to sort of DJ Redacted songs that are important to me. One, the Lacanian song, and then the other are these miniature people you see in the skull. And also you will see in, one of my favorites of this whole thing, is the Comte. The light is running out, sort of essence of positivism, the nature of truth. You see all the mini people below this. So yeah, it's a little bit of a message about the death drive of empiricism and positivism. And I, for years, you know, have been kind of interested in the history and philosophy of science from the just perspective of how positivism tends to be. I'm just looking at the gallery. I think everybody is literally gone. I think it's just me. Yeah, I think everybody's out of here. So once again, I'm hanging by myself. That's all good. Good time to do some recordings, right? So I mentioned that I repurposed this garbage can for the sake of the table. And in fact, I may just pull some of this down early because I'm really trying to focus on making sure I can get this torn down. The exhibit's supposed to close at 3:30 today. Let me check the time actually. 2 o'clock. And then there's going to be two events, an atelier book event, and then also an event for Katie Stewart. related to you know, her work and celebrating her work. I was on a panel ages ago, organized a panel, and Katie was on that panel, so pretty cool. Going back, her work, Ordinary FX, has always been a favorite of mine for sure. So yeah, the table, centerpiece, and then everything around it kind of adds to it. I wanted to add movement to the exhibit. By the way, here are the postcards. I littered the halls of both the Sheraton and the Marriott across the street with the postcards. And then this is our little gallery tag. And then here you have 3 vines. I actually ended up buying a 3rd set of motors. They're really cheap. You get them on, they're just wind chime motors that you get on Amazon. And by the way, I've had 1 D-cell in each of these for 4 days. 2 of those nights, it ran through the night and they're still running strong. So I feel like those are super energy effective. You know, D-cells are pretty power packed. These lights, on the other hand, are kind of crappy. I bought these, I think, on Amazon, and they flicker and stuff, but they run on those teeny batteries. I forget the number, 3 of them, like calculator batteries, and they don't last all that long. So those, I feel like, are not necessarily very effective for something like this. But if you have ideas, put it in the comments, because I would love to have mini lights like that are a little brighter, and maybe that flash for future versions of this. And indeed, we're talking about doing this project again in the future. So yeah, 3 here of the vines. I think if you use these, you definitely have to think about the fact that they can get wrapped in things like string or sides of screws, sides of the frame, whatever. So yeah. I also added, you know, for the ghostly effect, kind of this cobweb stuff. At first it looked like total junk, and then I just started to spread it out with the tape because I didn't want a polished look. So I basically put in green tape and the whatchamacallit, the duct tape, which is gold duct tape. And by the way, it doesn't seem to be pulling the wall paint, and it held. I didn't have any issues with humidity and with these falling or anything like that. So that's pretty cool. You know what I may do before the 5 o'clock hour? I would love to pull down the high ones, or maybe I'll just have the ladder handy here and I'll pull them down while the other events are going on, because I really don't want to have to deal with my flight's at 2:50 this morning, so I'm just kind of freaked about having to get up that early, I guess. So yeah, so we got that kind of as part of that ghostly effect. And then I added some mini candles. You know, a couple of the lights here. This one, it's a Halloween light, and this one, you can't even see. And it's a little dark or a little light. When it's darker, it's much better. But again, during the course of the exhibit over the 4 days, we lost some of our window coverings. So once 3 or 4 o'clock hits, it typically looks a little bit better just because you can see stuff. We have also the method is a leak slogan here. This is just a Temu screen that I bought that allows you to display messages or emoticons, little like GIF type files and images. AI generated waves kind of playing here. By the way, there's 2 more speaker sources in addition to those 2. This one's playing waves just off the screen speaker. And then this projector also has waves playing just as the audio track that I added on top of the video. And I'm getting annoyed. I'm going to change the Scion's built-in sound. It's too white noisy. Let's change it to that one. I love this, by the way. They have, you know, 4 or 5 different sounds in there, and it's so easy to carry with you. It's pocket, as it says, and it runs on 3 AAA batteries. And that actually lasted the course of the exhibit, but this week. But unfortunately, I had left it on, I think, one night, and then the batteries are drained. So I just, you know, changed out 3 AAAs. It's pretty easy. So let's see, let me maybe show you, our dolly's still working. This thing is, you know, it's not drifting as much as I thought it would be. So it's still kind of working, doing its track, A-B. It's gonna turn, there we go. So yeah, maybe we'll take a look at the gift shop now. And the gift shop has kind of it's the real sort of immersive space component of this. I think if I could do it in a bigger setting, when I do it in a bigger setting, I want to build out more spaces, but these have all the various products related to this. So this is just the base for it. Again, this is starting to bend in from the weight, but we've got the Ghost Captain Crunch, Method is a Leak, Ethnographic Essence. I showed you the comped one earlier, the Anti-Positivism Ethnographic Spray, Dream Archive Solve, these handy ethnographic sticky notes that help you transform your text and make it publishable and tenurable. We've got a experimental ethnography burger. Kids love them, so that's another one. The Ghost Captain Seafood Stew, which has an Anthropocene themed, taste of the Anthropocene themed mess. Experimental ethnography, the videotape, VHS version with Johnny Pomo, Marcus bought Mind Mints, and my favorite, Positivism versus Ethnography in the Middle Voice. You defeat positivism as the final boss. And then also Middle Voice soap cubes. This is an extra Anthropocene theme park t-shirt that Amazon sent. Unfortunately, it was too small. They sent the wrong size, so I was able to actually get a refund on that, and it kind of was just a freebie. So that's kind of the immersive space component. I also have these candles set up here. And then everything else you see, with the exception really of this, which is like kind of the FAQs or instructions, this is all the AI generated imagery. So with some exception, this is the Steve Tyler original outline for the Santa Fe Writing Culture Conference. But you can see some of the postcards reproduced, some of the patents. So this takes really the themes and concepts from everything on the table and kind of makes them bigger, makes them projected here. There are two main texts. The ethnography will not culminate in a fixed text, but in a living platform, which plays off this idea, which is the process has been made a product, which is always, I was talking with George yesterday in that video, if you watched it, is always a challenge for both ethnography and contemporary art, particularly art that tries to blur lines between art and everyday life, as was the case in the 60s. Some fake ads, continuing the theme, we got alien encounters. This is the poster that advertises the gift shop and some more ads. And then here's part of that protest, which is kind of a metafiction of this whole project, talking about the idea that people are quite upset about the exhibit, the fake dating sheet. And here's another, I really like this image here, kind of just with the cobwebs. It's another reflection of this entire project and kind of what it's discussing. Method is a leak, and then the cool quote, the haunting is the echo of what technology forgets to delete. So yeah, I feel like the project was successful. We've gotten, I would say in general, we've had different amounts of people who have actually come into the gallery, so it's ranged every day. It just kind of depends, I guess, on where people are and what they're doing. But I would generally say that it's been successful, and particularly when we've had these events. When we've had the evening events, I'm sure tonight we're gonna get some more folks coming in. That's been really the best times for us because it's allowed us to explain our work to folks and to really have those kind of in-depth conversations that I think are so important. So yeah, that is really the extent of the Ghost Ship project. If you get a chance to watch all these videos, there are bits and pieces, the interviews I did with George, and more stuff certainly that you could consider if you want to dive into what this project is. I wanted to document it. I definitely want to reproduce it again at other institutions or gallery spaces because I think it has a lot of potential maybe to ground a second exhibition if we do it on AI and maybe have that as a thematic to look at artistic expressions of AI or maybe expressions of AI connected to ethnography and anthropology. So as is typical, I appreciate you watching, checking out my channel, checking this out. It's been a blast this week here, hanging out in New Orleans. The food's been amazing. Shout out to Kuchan Butcher, just amazing food. I've eaten there 3 times already. And a shout out to James, the concierge at the Higgins, who, when I was helping George find a hotel, suggested that we try that. It's been absolutely amazing food. And my own personal advice to you is to try to seek out these spaces if you're accustomed to doing that or desirous of that, because I think it's a much better opportunity to connect with folks, to have conversations on site within the space of your art, within the space of the gallery, as opposed to going to a dry conference where people, as our one poster shows, a few posters show, sit in front of a podium or stand in front of a podium and read a paper and puts everyone to sleep all the while. So thank you for listening. We're signing off here. Ghost Ship Project, New Orleans, 2025, November, here at Merchant Hall, part of Merchant House. Thanks for listening. Do creative work, focus on the arts, focus on experimentalism, and do stuff that maybe will inspire audiences to ask questions and to create their own creative projects. Thank you for listening. I'm out.